Barakallahu fikum. Let us continue in the book of marriage level 2. We are going over the explanation of Muhammad ibn Qaasim Al-Ghazzi, as you can see in the header. FatH Al-Ghazzi, this is. So, the text of Abu Shuja itself. Inshallah, you have your own copy of the text of Abu Shuja. And perhaps you've taken it already. So this is all good review for you. You can follow along, inshallah. The text of Abu Shuja is what's up top here. That text of Abu Shuja is what is explained down the bottom. The amount of the text up top is the amount that is merged into the explanation down bottom. And what we're going to do is read the text up top and then read the explanation down bottom. And so the author says, and we are continuing here with the topic of seeing women. We're right at the end of there. Looking at women. Yani the judgments of looking at or seeing a woman. The author says, وَالسَّابِعُ النَّظَرُ إِلَى الْأَمَةِ عِنْدَ ابْتِيَاعِهَا. The seventh case of looking at a woman, according to Abu Shuja, is looking at a slave woman when purchasing her. فيجوز إلى المواضع التي يحتاج إلى تقليبها. Then it is permissible to look at the spots that he needs for inspection. Faslun, section. This is still the text, not the explanation yet. So what I just read for you, that seventh case of looking at a woman, that's the end of a section. And then on this same page, we will embark on the next section. He says, Faslun fi. So, Faslun, section, here is in brackets, says, Fi arkani salah. So, I don't know, is that according to some copies of Abu Shuja that's there? Or did the publisher of this explanation add that there? But I didn't take it. What I know from the text of Abu Shuja is merely Faslun, ولا يصح عقد النكاح إلا بولي وشاهدي عدل. Section. The marriage contract is not valid but by a guardian and two trustworthy witnesses. ويفتقر الولي والشاهدان إلى 6 شرائط. The guardian and the two witnesses need 6 conditions. Then only 2 of them fit on the page here. Al-Islam, Islam being Muslim. Wal-Bulugh, puberty. ... So there's 4 more. Let's see the explanation. The explainer says, وَالسَّابِعُ النَّظَرُ إِلَى الْأَمَةِ عِنْدَ ابْتِيَاعِهَا. The 7th case of looking at a woman is looking at a slave woman upon purchasing her. A shira'iha, meaning buying her. فيجوز النظر إلى المواضع التي يحتاج إلى تقليبها. So it is permissible to look at the spots that he needs for investigating her. Yani for investigation. He's about to make a purchase. فَيَنْظُرُ أَطْرَافَهَا. So he would see her limbs, yani her arms and her legs. وَشَعْرَهَا, and her hair, because a slave woman doesn't have to cover her hair. Covering the hair is the honor of the free woman. You can share that with some person who that might subvert their expectations. You say to them, "Oh no, don't you know? This khimar, this is the honor of the free woman. It's the slave women who can walk around without covering." لا عورتها, but he won't look at her private parts. فصل, section, فيما لا يصح النكاح إلا به, concerning that without which a marriage is invalid. ولا يصح عقد النكاح إلا بولي عدل. A marriage contract is not valid but by a trustworthy guardian. So the explainer adds the word adl, trustworthy. The bare text of Abu Shuja just says, but by a guardian and two trustworthy witnesses. The explainer tells us, and the guardian, he has to be trustworthy. وفي بعض النسخ, and in some copies of Abu Shuja, بولي ذكر, by a male guardian, which, yani, guardian's only going to be male though. وهو احتراز عن الأنثى, that is an exclusion, yani that excludes the female. فإنها لا تزوج نفسها ولا غيرها, for indeed a female does not give herself in marriage nor anyone else. That's most of the madhabs, that the female does not give herself in marriage. And according to the Hanafi school, as you know, a woman could give herself in marriage, and they have evidence from the Quran for this. Evidence from the Quran. Such as the saying of Allah Ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, حتى تنكح زوجا غيره. This is about when a man divorced a wife 3 times. He cannot get back to her again حتى تنكح زوجا غيره, until she marries a husband other than him. Their proof being here that the verb is tankih, she marries, yani here, meaning that the wording of this verse puts the contract in her hand. Yani the ayah doesn't say hatta yankihaha zawjun ghayruh. It doesn't say until a husband other than him marries her, putting the marriage into the hand of the man. The wording of the ayah puts the marriage into the woman's hand. Tankiha hiya zawjan ghayrahu, until she marries another man. So the Hanafis use that as evidence, amongst other ayat, that a woman can have control of her own marriage contract. We're not going to go far there. I just wanted to share the information with you. I'm going to stick to the Shafi'i school here. ولا يصح عقد النكاح أيضا إلا بحضور شاهدي عدل. And also the marriage contract is not valid but by the attendance, the hudur, the attendance of 2 trustworthy witnesses. Their presence, their attendance. Yani, not over the phone. They said this before phones were invented. It's not because they didn't know phones would be invented and that what they're saying is wrong. It's because they knew the right rule and they said the right words. And then when the phone was invented, those words still apply. And when the internet was invented, those words still apply. The religion of Islam is universal religion. Yani Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah revealed all the rules to him. Then all the rules were revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that will cover anything that will happen until the end of the world. That's what some people don't understand. And maybe some of those people are supposed to be sheikhs and scholars. Some people will say to you, what you mean we cannot use the machine to cut the chicken? They didn't have those machines back then. Okay. But they said back then you cannot set up the trap and then the blade comes down and kills the animal itself. So they knew the concept and many things like that. They said, for example, back then, 1,000 years ago, if your khuf is transparent, still valid. Did they have transparent plastic? Did they have plastic shoes back then? Molded in transparent plastic boots? They knew the rule without having the shoes. Like this. Because they knew the rules. They understood the religion that the Prophet taught them. And then they explained the cases, even if there were scenarios that didn't even happen to them yet. They still said the rules properly. And then when things happen in the future, those rules are still applicable. And that's why we don't listen to those people who say the wrong thing about the Qibla. Talking about we have technology now, etc., etc. It is not valid except by the hudur, the presence, the attendance of shahidei adl, two trustworthy witnesses. Did I say arkan as-salat or an-nikah? Did I say salat there? فيما لا يصح النكاح إلا به. I hope I didn't say salat. Is he talking about right there?
It's salat.
I said salat.
Yeah, and they correct it. Just when you explain it, you said it right.
Oh, right here. في أركان النكاح. I said في أركان الصلاة. سبحان الله.
Yes.
بارك الله فيكم. وذكر المصنف شرط كل من الولي والشاهدين. And the author, the explainer says, the author mentioned conditions for each of the guardian and the two witnesses. في قوله, when he said, ويفتقر الولي والشاهدان إلى ستة شرائط. The guardian and the two witnesses need 6 conditions. الأول الإسلام. The first is Islam. فلا يكون ولي المرأة كافرا. And therefore, a woman, a Muslim woman, he just says here, a woman's guardian will not be a kafir. But this means a Muslim woman's guardian. It is valid for the Christian woman or Jewish woman to be given away by her Jewish or Christian father to a Muslim man in marriage, with the condition that he is trustworthy to his own people. Yani, his own people see him as a good man. So if his own people see him as a bad man, he's not valid. إلا فيما يستثنيه المصنف بعد, except what the author will exclude later. He says, yani, the first is Islam, and so the guardian of the woman would not be a kafir except what the author shall exclude later. Wathani, and the second condition is al-bulugh, puberty. فلا يكون ولي المرأة صغيرا, and so a woman's guardian would not be a child. Like, what if her brother were below puberty or her uncle is below puberty? You know that can happen. Someone might be the same age as his uncle, or even his uncle could be younger than him. Then it won't be valid. The guardian has to be pubescent. Okay. Now, here, back to the text on the top of the page. He's continuing to list these conditions for the guardian. And I'll just back up. What was he saying? He said they need 6 conditions. Al-Islamu wal-bulugh, Islam, and puberty, wal-aql, and sanity, wal-hurriyah, and freedom, wal-dhukurah, and being male, wal-adalah, and trustworthiness. إلا أنه لا يفتقر نكاح إلا أنه لا يفتقر نكاح الذمية إلى إسلام الولي ولا نكاح الأمة إلى عدالة السيد, except that a Jewish or Christian citizen, dhimmiya, a Jewish or Christian citizen's marriage to a Muslim does not need the guardian's Islam. Why I said a citizen? Because I'm just explaining what the author said. He called her dhimmiya. Dhimmiya means she is a subject, she is a citizen of the Islamic state. And she pays the jizya. So she's dhimmiya. Now, the rule is not restricted to that. It's not restricted to that she has to be a citizen. But this is what he said. So that's why I translated it like that. The marriage of the dhimmiya, this kafira who is a citizen of the Islamic state, it does not need the guardian's Islam when she's going to marry a Muslim. If she's going to marry a kafir like herself, then they're going to do what they do. وَلَا نِكَاحُ الْأَمَةِ إِلَىٰ عَدَالَةِ السَّيِّدِ, nor does the slave woman's marriage need the trustworthiness of the master. وَأَوْلَى الْوُلَاةِ الْأَبْ ثُمَّ الْجَدُّ أَبُو الْأَبْ ثُمَّ الْأَخُ لِلْأَبِ وَالْأُمِّ ثُمَّ الْأَخُ لِلْأَبِ. Then he starts talking about the guardians, Abu Shuja, rahimahullah. So he said, the most deserving of guardians is the father, then the grandfather, the father's father, then the brother from the father and the mother, that's the full brother, then the brother from the father, that's the paternal half brother, then he ran out of space there. ... We'll see. Inshallah. So, continuing with these conditions down here in the explanation, وَالثَّالِثُ الْعَقْلُ. The third condition is sanity. فَلَا يَكُونُ وَلِيُّ الْمَرْأَةِ مَجْنُونًا. And therefore, the woman's guardian must not be crazy or insane. سواء أطبق جنونه أو تقطع. Whether his insanity were constant and persistent, or if it were temporary, coming and going. So when I read the top like that and then go down to the explanation, is that fine? Or do you want me to just read the explanation only on the bottom? That's clearer.
Fine. We like it too, the way how you do it.
Okay. وَالرَّابِعُ الْحُرِّيَّةِ. The fourth is freedom. فَلَا يَكُونُ الْوَلِيُّ عَبْدًا فِي إِيجَابِ النِّكَاحِ. And so the guardian would not be a slave for proposing the marriage. وَيَجُوزُ أَنْ يَكُونَ قَابِلًا فِي النِّكَاحِ. But it is permissible for a slave to accept in a marriage, because can't a slave man get married? Yes. So We're saying here, you know that a marriage needs a proposal and an acceptance. That's in the marriage contract with the guardian and the witnesses and the groom. Who makes the proposal and who makes the acceptance? So either side can do either one. The groom could make the proposal and say, "Give your daughter in marriage to me." And then the guardian would accept and say, "I accept." Or the guardian could make the proposal and say, "I give my daughter in marriage to you." And then the groom could say, "I accept." Okay. However, for the slave, there's a detail here because a slave can't be a guardian, and therefore the slave cannot make the proposal. He can't be on the proposing side. If it were all freemen, then either one could make the proposal or the acceptance. But when a slave is involved, then the slave can't be the one on the proposing side because it's not possible for him to be the guardian. However, since a slave can get married, then he can be on the accepting side. وَالْخَامِسُ الذُّكُورَةُ, and the fifth condition is being male. فَلَا تَكُونُ الْمَرْأَةُ وَالْخُنْثَى وَلِيَّيْنِ, and therefore, neither would a woman nor a hermaphrodite be guardians. Hermaphrodite means here the problematic hermaphrodite. Problematic hermaphrodite means the one whose gender is unknown. Yani, hermaphrodite means person is created with an extra organ. So that extra organ is not the real one for this person. It's an extra one. And the meaning here is a man who was created with a vagina or a woman who was created with a penis. That's a khuntha, hermaphrodite. But as long as the gender of this one is known, then this deformity will not have any bearing. There's no religious judgment here for this deformity. And they don't have to tell you to. Subhanallah. But that's a valid marriage. This person is definitely a woman or definitely a man, but has a deformity. But sometimes some people are created with the extra organ and we don't know if it's a male or female. That's the one we mean when we say the khuntha, the hermaphrodite. And we don't have to add problematic. We don't have to. Because when we say hermaphrodite, it's going to mean the problematic one because there's no need to draw attention to the fact that the clear hermaphrodite, clear means the gender is clear. There's no reason to draw attention to the clear hermaphrodite being a hermaphrodite because really is clearly a male or clearly a female, however, it just has a deformity. The one that we are calling merely a hermaphrodite is the problematic one without us having to call him problematic. And that's the one whose gender is unknown and therefore their marriage is not even valid. And they have also other rules. But the problematic hermaphrodite cannot marry. And they have other rules. And what we are saying right here is that this hermaphrodite cannot be a guardian. The hermaphrodite, its rules, his or her rules go back and forth between the rules for men and women. How are you going to know which one does the hermaphrodite take? The rules of the man or the rules of the woman? The general rule is whichever one is most precautious. So, can a hermaphrodite wear gold? No, because he might be a man. So that's more precautious. Can the hermaphrodite lead a man in prayer? No, because he might be a woman. Like that. And you can keep going. I don't want to stick here on the hermaphrodite too long. وَالسَّادِسُ الْعَدَالَةِ. And the sixth is trustworthiness. فَلَا يَكُونُ الْوَلِيُّ فَاسِقًا. And so the guardian would not be a major sinner. واستثنى المصنف من ذلك ما تضمنه قوله إلا أنه لا يفتقر نكاح الذمية إلى إسلام الولي ولا يفتقر نكاح الأمة إلى عدالة السيد. And the author excluded from the fact that the guardian cannot be a major sinner, the author Abu Shuja excluded from that what is included in his saying that except that the kafir citizen lady, her marriage does not depend on the guardian's Islam. So he's going to be a major sinner by virtue of being a kafir. Nor does the marriage of the slave woman require the guardian's trustworthiness. فَيَجُوزُ كَوْنُهُ فَاسِقًا. What did he say? So it's permissible for him to be a major sinner. So you know what that means, though. You should. You're going to be confused here? What? It's permissible for him to be a major sinner. Does he have to take his shahada? No, you don't have to take his shahada. We talk about the validity of the marriage contract here. You have to put it into its context. Yajuzu here means it's valid. It's permissible means it's valid for him to be a major sinner and give his slave woman away in marriage. وجميع ما سبق في الولي يعتبر في شاهدي النكاح. And all of what has been preceded, all of what has been presented about the guardian is regarded for the two witnesses also. وأما العمى فلا يقدح في الولاية في الأصح. But as for blindness, it does not discredit the guardianship according to what is soundest. It does not discredit the guardianship. The blindness does not discredit the guardianship. The witness needs to see the bride's face or know her name. Usually, if I do a marriage contract, I make her say her name and show her face. But it's not a condition. Any questions so far? Yes, question, please. You said if the witness has seen her face before the day of the nikah, but not during the contract, is that fine? I haven't heard. Or does he need to see it during the nikah? I haven't heard. Okay, then Abu Shuja went to talk about the guardians. And so he said, Rahimahullah, and the explainer elaborates, وأولى الولاة أي أحق الأولياء بالتزويج. And the most deserving of guardians, meaning the most entitled of guardians to give the woman away in marriage, or to give the female away in marriage, is Al-Ab, the father. And you know what that means? She was conceived in wedlock. ثم الجد أبو الأب. Then the grandfather, the father's father, so the paternal grandfather, none of the guardians are maternal. None of them come from the mother's side. ثم أبوه. Then the grandfather's father. وهكذا, and so on. Then So Yani, the father. Or if not him, then the grandfather, father's father. If not him, then the great grandfather. If not him, then the great great grandfather. Like that. If any of the fathers are there, then it's not going to go past the fathers. ويقدم الأقرب ويقدم الأقرب من الأجداد على الأبعد. And the closer grandfather is or has priority over the further grandfather. So you're going to use the grandfather before the great grandfather and the great grandfather before the great great grandfather. ثم الأخ للأب والأم. Then the brother from the father and the mother, the full brother. ولو عبر بالشقيق لكان أخصر. And the explainer says, had Abu Shuja, had the author merely said Ash-Shaqiq, the full brother, it would have been briefer. And that's his goal, isn't it? Didn't he say he wants to? Abu Shuja said the request from his friend when he was requested to author this book was to make a summary في غاية الاختصار ونهاية الإيجاز, and a summary at the extent of brevity and the ultimate concision. Yani, the ultimate summary. This is supposed to be the ultimate summary. So then, anytime he says something that could have been briefer, those who explain this book say he could have said this with briefer words. So he said, ثم الأخ للأب والأم, ثم الأخ للأب والأم, and he could have said ثم الشقيق. He said, then the brother from the father and the mother, and had he said, then the full brother, then it would have been briefer. So now in the translation, I'm not going to put full brother. In the translation, I'm going to put the brother from the father and the mother. So I'm going to make it long, like Abu Shuja did, although this is supposed to be the ultimate summary. ثم الأخ للأب, then the brother from the father. So half brother, paternal half brother. Okay, what's in the text here? ثم ابن الأخ للأب والأم. So now it's just the text, Abu Shuja's text. Abu Shuja said, then the son of the brother from the father and the mother. The son of the brother from the father and the mother. Who's from the father and the mother? The brother. Which guardian are we talking about here? That brother's son. So that's her nephew. ثم ابن الأخ للأب. Then the son of the brother from the father. So that's her nephew from her half brother, her paternal half brother. ثم العم. Then the paternal uncle. ثم ابنه. Then his son. That's her cousin. على هذا الترتيب. That's her cousin, although he's marriageable. So that's marriageable kin who can be her guardian and give her away in marriage. And the guardians are according to this sequence. فإذا عدمت العصبات فالمولى المعتق. And then if these male relatives are missing, yani not available, then it goes to the emancipator, the one who emancipated the woman. She's the one who needs the guardian. The male does not need a guardian once he reaches puberty. Male cannot get married without a guardian before puberty. He can get married without a guardian at puberty. Subhanallah. That's how in reality Islam will produce more mature people too. Because the Muslim knows when he reaches puberty, then he has responsibility. And he even has permissions and privileges. ثم عصباته. And then if there is no emancipator, then the relatives of that, the male relatives of the emancipator, they're going to be the guardian. ثم الحاكم. And then the ruler, meaning like the caliph or the judge. So now down to the explanation. ثم ابن الأخ للأب والأم. Then the next guardian is the son of the brother from the father and the mother. وإن سفل. So that's her nephew, even if he's a great nephew, meaning lower. Her nephew, or the son of her nephew, or the grandson of her nephew. Those are nephews too. ثم ابن الأخ للأب. Then the brother, then the son of the brother from the father. وإن سفل. Even if he goes lower. يعني, the son of that nephew, or the grandson of that first nephew. ثم العم الشقيق. Then the uncle.
The uncle shared by the full brother.
ثم العم للأب.
Then the uncle shared only by the half brother.
ثم ابنه. Then his son. That's her cousin. أي ابن كل منهما وإن سفل. Even if it's a second cousin or third cousin. This cousin from either of these uncles. The uncle who's shaqiq and the uncle from the father's side only. على هذا الترتيب. According to this sequence. فيقدم ابن العم الشقيق على ابن العم للأب. And so, the cousin from the shaqiq uncle,
the uncle shared by the full brother,
has priority over the cousin from the
uncle shared only by the half brother.
فإذا عدمت العصبات من النسب. Then if these men, they're called the asabat, that's a word that pertains to inheritance. So let's just say for now, if these men from her blood lineage, mina nasab, from her bloodline, her blood kin, if these men are missing, فالمولى المعتق الذكر, then the male emancipator, meaning she was a slave, if she were a slave woman, if she yani were formerly a slave woman, she's an emancipated slave, so she's a free woman, and she doesn't have any such relatives, then she goes to her emancipator to give her away when she wants to get married. ثم عصباته. Then his male relatives. على ترتيب الإرث. According to the sequence of inheritance. وأما المولاة المعتقة. And as for the female emancipator, إذا كانت حية فيزوج عتيقتها من يزوج المعتقة. Meaning, if this freed slave woman, if who emancipated her were a woman, then who's going to give her away if she doesn't have any of those male relatives? Then whoever would give that emancipating woman away is the one who's going to give away this ex-slave woman. بالترتيب السابق في أولياء النسب. According, though, to the sequence we just saw now for the guardians by blood kinship. So what he's saying is, if the one who's giving this woman away is her male emancipator, but he's not available, then it goes to his male relatives in the inheritance sequence, not the guardianship sequence, in the inheritance sequence. That's another thing. But if the one who gave her freedom were female, who can't give her away because she's a female, then whoever would give that female away gives away this ex-slave woman according to the sequence of the guardians in marriage. فإذا ماتت المعتقة زوج عتيقتها من له الولاء على المعتقة. ثم ابنه ثم ابن ابنه. This part here, we'll skip it for now. ثم الحاكم, then the ruler, meaning the caliph or the judge. يزوج عند فقد الأولياء من النسب والولاء. He gives the woman away in marriage when there are no guardians from kinship or wala. And if that's missing, then the woman and her fiance will appoint an acting judge, a muhakkam. They will say, Hakkamnaka fi ziwajina. We appoint you as a judge or to act as a judge in our marriage. Then he says, Qabiltu, I accept. Now he has authority. He's an acting judge. And then he can give that woman away in marriage. She becomes his ward. And then he can give her away. Wallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala a'lam.